The shot always comes in front of people. That's not an accident. That's the whole design. Think about the last time someone cut you down with an audience watching. The meeting, the dinner table, the group standing around. So here's the question no man wants to answer honestly. In that moment, did you run the situation or did it run you? Be honest, because the thing that still stings isn't the words. It's the 3 seconds after, when the room turned to look at you, and you froze, or you snapped, and either way you lost. Almost every man alive fails that exact test in the exact same 3 seconds, and never learns why. Today you get the protocol, 5 steps, cold, for the public shot, the pause, the look, the flat question, the reprice, and the exit. And I'll warn you now, the last step is the one that feels most like losing and wins the hardest. So stay to the end. Because there's a danger buried in this too. Run these steps wrong, from anger instead of control, and you hand the attacker exactly what he came for. Get them right, and the shot becomes his problem, in front of everyone, without you raising your voice once. Last time in the power laws, you learned the 6 levels of reading a room. A public shot is the moment someone 1 level below you tries to drag you down to his, in front of everyone by force. He can't outread you, so he tries to outshout you, publicly, hoping the crowd does his work. The protocol is how a man of the pack refuses the pull without ever looking like he felt it. You don't drop a tear because a lower man raised his voice. 500 years ago, Machiavelli studied insults and what they cost, and he left a warning that most men break every single day. He said the injuries a man does should be done all at once, but the response to being injured should never be rushed, half-measured, or emotional. The worst thing you can do to an enemy, he taught, is wound him just enough to enrage him, but not enough to disable him. And that is exactly what your angry reaction does. It wounds nothing, and it enrages you. In public, on his schedule, the cold protocol is Machiavelli's other path. You either respond completely, or you do not hand him a response at all. Before step 1, drop 3 words in the comments. I stay cold, type it. It's the whole protocol in 3 words, and by the end you'll know exactly how to run it. First, understand the weapon, because you can't disarm what you don't see. A sociologist named Goffman spent his career on something he called the presentation of self. His finding was simple, and it explains your entire life in public. Every one of us is always performing a version of ourselves for whoever's watching, and we depend, constantly, on other people cooperating with that performance. When you walk into a room as the competent one, the calm one, the respected one, that identity only holds if the room plays along. Goffman called a public insult exactly what it is, an attack on face, not your feelings. Your face, the version of you the room had agreed to accept. Now you see why the shot always comes with an audience. In private, an insult is just a disagreement between 2 men. In public, it's a challenge to your standing in front of the exact people whose belief holds your standing up. The attacker isn't trying to hurt your feelings. He's trying to rewrite, live, in front of witnesses, who you are in that room. He's betting that you'll either freeze, which confirms his version, or explode, which confirms it worse. Both outcomes were the plan. There was never a third option on his menu. The protocol is you writing a third option he didn't account for. Picture how it actually plays. A man named Dave, good at his job, sitting in a Monday meeting. A rival across the table, smiling, says, "Well, some of us actually finished our part of the project." Light tone, everybody heard it, and now the room does the thing rooms do. It turns half a second. To watch Dave, that half-second turn is the whole game. In it, the rival isn't asking Dave a question. He's running an experiment on Dave's standing, in front of the people who grant it, and the entire office will walk out, having quietly updated their file on Dave, based on the next 4 seconds. Dave never agreed to be tested. Doesn't matter. The test is running. It runs on every man. In some version, several times a year, and most men have no idea it's even a test until they've already failed it. And here's the danger, stated plain. 99% of men respond from the wound. They feel the sting, and the sting drives the reaction. And a reaction driven by a sting is always the reaction the attacker scripted. The protocol only works cold. The moment it runs hot, it becomes his tool, not yours. So every step below has one job underneath it. Keep the wound from touching the wheel, and understand the role the audience plays, because it is the whole reason the public shot exists. The attacker is not really talking to you. He is talking to the room about you. Every person watching is quietly running a calculation, whether they know it or not, updating where you rank and where he ranks based on what happens next. That is why a shot that would mean nothing between two men alone becomes a genuine threat with 8 people watching. He is trying to move the room's opinion of you, Liv, using your own reaction as the proof. If you flail, the room files you as rattled. If you go cold and turn it back on him, the room files him as the fool who swung and missed. You are not fighting the attacker. You are quietly conducting the room, and the protocol is how you conduct it without ever looking like you're trying. And let me put my own stake down here, because it goes against what most men were taught. I think the whole culture of the witty comeback is a trap sold to men who will lose with it. You were raised on the movie scene where the hero fires back the perfect line and the room erupts. That scene has ruined more men than it's helped, because in real life, the comeback is a trade. You match his heat with yours, and even when your line is better, you've agreed to fight on his ground, at his temperature, about his topic. The cold protocol refuses the trade entirely. It's not a better comeback. It's the decision to stop playing the game he started, and that refusal is worth more than any line you could land. Step 1, the pause. When the shot lands, everything in you wants to fill the silence immediately. Fire back, laugh it off, explain, defend, anything to end the awful exposed moment. That urge is the trap, because speed is what the attacker wants. A fast reaction is a hot reaction, and a hot reaction is his. So you do the one thing he did not prepare for, nothing for 2 full seconds. 2 seconds of silence after a public shot feels like an hour from the inside. But watch what it does in the room. The attacker expected an instant reaction, and he didn't get one. The audience, who were braced for you to fumble, now sees a man who is not rattled. And the silence itself starts to reverse the pressure, because unanswered silence after an insult makes the insulter look like the one who overstepped. You didn't do anything. You just declined to rush, and in declining, you took the first thing back, which is the tempo. He set the tempo with the shot. The pause takes it from him. Understand the mechanism, because it's counterintuitive, and it's the reason the whole protocol starts here. An insult is an invitation to a specific dance. He leads, you follow. The room watches the choreography he designed. The instant you react at his speed, you've accepted the invitation, and you're dancing his steps. The pause declines the dance without saying no. It just doesn't move. And a lead with no partner looks foolish, standing there mid-gesture with nobody following. Silence is not the absence of a response. Placed here, on purpose, it is the response. And it's one he has no counter for, because you can't argue with a man who hasn't spoken. You can only wait on him, which means the room is now waiting on you, which means the floor is already yours, before you've said a word. Hold your face while you do it, everything you built in the last video. No flinch, no tightening jaw, no nervous swallow, just a calm, unbothered stillness and 2 seconds of it. This week, practice the 2-second pause on something small, a mild jab, a backhanded comment, so that when the real shot comes, the pause is already a reflex and not a decision. Because you will not be able to decide it in the moment. You'll only be able to have already trained it. Step 2, the look. During the pause, you're not staring at the floor, and you're not glaring. You give him one specific look, level, steady, mildly curious, the exact expression of a man watching something slightly strange happen. Not anger. Anger tells him he landed. Not a smile looks like a flinch dressed up. Just calm, direct attention, held a beat longer than comfortable, straight into his eyes. Understand what that look communicates, because it does more work than any sentence could. It says, I saw exactly what you did. It says, I am not afraid of it. And it says, I'm now waiting to see what you're going to do with it, which quietly flips the burden onto him. Goffman would tell you, this is a face-to-face contest over face, and the look is you refusing to surrender yours. The man who drops his eyes has conceded standing. The man who explodes has surrendered composure. The man who holds a level look has done neither, and the room reads it instantly, faster than words, because a room reads eyes before it hears sentences. The look and the pause happen together, 2 seconds, one calm expression. And already, before you have said a single word, the exchange has changed shape. He fired expecting to move you. You didn't move. Now everyone, including him, is waiting on you, which means you now hold the thing he was trying to take, the floor, and get the look exactly right, because a small miss here reads as the wrong thing entirely. Too hard, and it becomes a glare, which tells him he got to you, and now you're angry, which is a win for him. Too soft, and it becomes a plea, which tells him you're hoping he didn't mean it. The look you want sits precisely between, and the easiest way to find it is this. Look at him the way you'd look at a man who just did something mildly odd in public, like talking to himself, or knocking over his own drink. Not hostile, not hurt, just calmly, openly observing something that reflects on him, not on you. That specific expression puts the strangeness on his side of the table. It says, without a word, that something is off about what you just did, and I'm watching it happen. Practice it in a mirror if you have to, because under real pressure, your face defaults to fear or anger, and this look is neither. It has to be trained before you need it, exactly like the pause. Quick question, and men split hard on this one. When someone disrespects you in public, what actually wins? The sharp comeback that gets the laugh, or the cold silence that gives them nothing? Half of you were raised to believe the man with the fastest wit owns the room. But think about the men you actually respect, the ones you'd never test. Are they the quick-tongued ones, or are they the still ones you can't get a read on? Tell me which man you'd rather be in that moment, and which one you actually are right now. Those are usually not the same answer, and that gap is the whole reason this video exists. Step 3, the flat question. Now you speak, and you say the least a man can say. You do not counterattack. You do not defend. You ask one flat, calm question that hands the insult back to him to explain. The exact words depend on the shot, but the shape is always the same. What do you mean by that? Said with no heat, genuine and level, as if you're simply asking for clarification. Feel how much this does with how little. When a man throws a public insult, he's relying on it landing and everyone moving on quickly before anyone examines it. The flat question does the one thing he doesn't want. It stops the room on his words and asks him to stand behind them, out loud, in detail. And here's what almost always happens. He can't, because most public shots are cheap, tossed off for effect, with nothing solid underneath. Asked to explain it plainly, he either has to escalate into naked aggression, which now makes him the aggressor in front of everyone, or he has to walk it back, which deflates him in front of the same crowd. Either way, the spotlight he aimed at you is now pointed at him, and you did it by asking 4 calm words. Never fill the silence after your question, you asked. Now you wait, with the same level look, and you let him sit in the space where he has to produce a justification he probably doesn't have. The discomfort in that silence is no longer yours. You handed it to him with a question mark. This week, load one flat question and keep it ready. What do you mean by that? Say it out loud a few times until it comes out calm instead of sharp, because the calm is the entire weapon. Go back to Dave for a second and watch the flat question work. The rival said, "Some of us actually finished our part." Dave pauses, holds the look, and asks, level and unbothered, "What do you mean by that?" Now watch the rival's options collapse. If he doubles down, if he says, "I mean, you didn't do your job," he's just turned a smirking side comment into a direct accusation he now has to defend with specifics in front of the boss. And specifics are exactly what he doesn't have, because he was posturing, not reporting. If he backs off, "Oh, nothing, just kidding," he's shrunk in front of the same room that just watched him swing. There's no good answer to a calm, "What do you mean by that?" The question strips the cover off a cheap shot and asks it to stand up straight. And cheap shots can't stand up straight. That's what makes them cheap. It works the same at a family table, where the shots are older and cut deeper. A man named Ken, sitting across from a brother-in-law, 2 drinks in, who says loud enough for the whole table, "So are you still doing that little side business, or did that fall apart like everything else?" The old Ken would defend, list what's going well, get shrill, and lose the table trying to win it. The Ken who runs the protocol pauses, gives the level look, and asks quietly, "What do you mean? Like everything else?" And now the whole table is waiting on the brother-in-law to name the everything, out loud, in front of the family, which he cannot do without looking cruel and petty on a holiday. The question turned a cheap public jab into a spotlight the attacker has to stand in alone. Ken didn't defend a thing. He just asked the man to say the ugly part with his full chest, and the man couldn't. Step 4. The reprice. This is the step almost nobody knows, and it's the one that changes the relationship permanently. Whatever he answers or fails to answer, you now quietly reset the price of doing this to you. Not with a threat. Threats are hot, and hot is his. You reprice with a single calm line that makes clear this cost him something, and that it will cost him more next time, without you ever raising your voice. It sounds like this. A calm, almost pleasant, "That's an interesting thing to say," in front of everyone. Or, "I'll remember you said that," or simply, "Noted," one short line, delivered without anger, that tells the room and the attacker the same thing. That behavior was logged, it has a cost, and the man logging it is not rattled. Machiavelli understood repricing better than anyone. His whole warning about injuries was about cost. An enemy who pays nothing for a strike will strike again, casually, forever. An enemy who feels a real, cold, unhurried cost learns that you are expensive to attack, and expensive men get left alone. You are not seeking revenge in the moment. Revenge is loud and it's for later. Right now you're just adjusting the price. On the record, in front of the witnesses, whose belief sets your standing. And notice the reprice only works because of the 3 steps before it. The pause and the look made you calm. The flat question exposed the shot as cheap. So when the reprice lands, it lands on a man already off balance, in front of a room already leaning your way. Run the reprice first, cold open, from anger, and it's just a threat that makes you look shaken. Run it forth after the ground is set, and it's a verdict. Order is everything. That's why this is a protocol and not a list of tricks. And match the reprice to the room, because the level matters. For a small jab from someone who mostly matters, the lightest touch is enough. A calm noted, and you move on, and he feels the log without a scene. For a real shot from a repeat offender, you go a notch colder. "That's twice, now I've noticed," said flat to his face, with the room hearing it. So the pattern is now on the record, and he knows you're counting. And for the rare case where a man crosses a line that can't be walked back, the reprice is quietest of all, because it isn't words. It's the decision behind your eyes that this relationship just changed permanently, and he can feel it even if the room can't. The art is never going louder than the shot required. Overshoot the reprice, and you look rattled, which undoes everything. The cold man reprices to the exact weight of the offense, no more, and that precision is itself a message. It says you are in complete control of the dial. Step 5, the exit, the one that feels like losing and wins the hardest. Here's what you do not do. You do not stay and grind the point. You do not collect the win out loud. You do not keep talking to prove you came out on top. Because the man who keeps going after he's ahead gives the exchange back, hands the attacker a second chance, and starts to look like he needs the victory. Need is the one thing that undoes everything you just built. So the moment the reprice lands, you exit the exchange. Not the room, necessarily the exchange. You change the subject, you turn to someone else. You move on to the actual business, as if the whole thing was a minor interruption already handled. This is the step that feels like losing, because everything in you wants to finish him, to make sure everyone saw, to seal it. Resist that completely, because the exit is what makes the whole thing devastating. By moving on calmly, you communicate the most powerful message available. That the attack was so far beneath you, it doesn't even warrant your continued attention. The man who fights to the end reveals the insult mattered. The man who handles it in 4 cold beats and then moves on reveals it didn't. And that, to the attacker and the audience both, is worse than any comeback. You didn't beat him. You dismissed him. Being beaten is a contest. Being dismissed is a verdict on whether he was ever a contest at all. Machiavelli's cold logic closes here. The response he taught is either complete or it's nothing. The exit is what makes your response complete, because it ends the exchange on your terms, at your chosen moment, with the price reset and the room realigned, and then it's over. No loose thread for him to pull, no second round. You walked in as the man the room respected. He tried to rewrite that live, and 5 cold steps later the room respects you more, not less, and he's the one holding the failed attempt. And here is where this closes the loop, back to the levels. Remember, the public shot was a lower-tier man trying to drag you down to his level by force. The exit is the exact moment that fails. By handling it cold and simply moving on, you don't just survive the attack. You demonstrate the gap. Everyone at that table just watched one man try to pull another down, and watched the pull do nothing. And a pull that does nothing does not make the 2 men look equal. It makes the distance between them undeniable. The attacker aimed to close the gap. The protocol widens it, publicly, permanently. That is why the man who masters this stops getting tested. Not because people fear his temper, because they've seen with their own eyes that trying to drag him down only makes them look small, standing next to how far down they had to reach. And here's the drill for the step that's hardest to execute, because the pull to stay and win is enormous. The instant the reprice lands, give yourself one physical action that moves you out of the exchange. Turn your body a few degrees towards someone else. Pick up the document. Ask the next person a real question about the actual business. The physical move breaks the gravity of the confrontation and signals, without a word, that it's finished and you decided when. Practice this, because in the moment, your body will want to stay locked on him, squared up, finishing it. That instinct is the last trap. The man who stays locked on reveals the fight still has a hold on him. The man who turns his shoulders and moves to the next thing reveals it never did. You are not walking away because you're afraid of him. You're walking away because he's already handled, and handled things don't get more of your attention. That is the difference the whole room feels, even if none of them could name it. So that's the protocol. 5 cold steps, and they're one motion once you own them. The pause that steals his tempo, the look that refuses your face, the flat question that exposes the shot as cheap, the reprice that makes you expensive to attack, and the exit that dismisses him completely and ends it on your terms. Not one raised voice in the whole sequence. That's the point. Volume is what men reach for when they don't have control. You won't need it. And the debate from the middle, comeback versus cold. Here's my answer, flat. The sharp comeback wins the second. The cold protocol wins the man. A comeback is a trade, your wit for his. And even when you win the laugh, you've told the room the insult was worth engaging, worth matching, worth your heat. The cold response tells the room it wasn't worth any of that. And it tells the attacker something he'll remember far longer than a clever line. That you can't be moved, and that moving you was expensive. Wit fades by morning, expensive lasts. Here's what changes once this lives in your body. The public shots slow down, then stop, because you've quietly become the wrong man to try it on. The rooms you walk into feel different, because some part of everyone remembers how you handled the last one. And the fear itself, that specific dread of being cut down in front of people, dissolves, because you're no longer hoping it won't happen. You're prepared for exactly what to do when it does. A man who knows his protocol stops fearing the moment the protocol is for. Say it one more time and mean it. I stay cold, pause, look, question, reprice, exit. Cold in order every time. If this handed you the protocol, you're one of us. Subscribe and stay close. Because the next video is for the man who has to rise with no one behind him. No network, no mentor, no head start, no one coming to help. There's a way to build from exactly nothing. And the man who proves it isn't a theory. It's Machiavelli himself, tortured, exiled, erased, who sat down in that ruin and wrote the book we're still reading 500 years later. That playbook is next. Don't miss it. Say it one more time and mean it. I stay cold. Pause, look, question, reprice, exit, cold. In order, every time. If this handed you the protocol, you're one of the pack. Subscribe and stay close, because this is one law in a series on how power actually moves. The cold protocol handles the attack you didn't start. But there are 7 sentences a man can say that end a power game before it even begins. 7 flat lines, so the shot never gets fired at all. 7 sentences that close any game cold. That's next in the Power Laws, new episode Thursday. Don't miss it. Pause before you answer. Hold the look. Ask the flat question. Reset the price. Then walk, and let the room learn, without a single raised word, that you are the wrong man to test in public.